Last night was the fourth Democratic debate, and it looks like people are kind of unhappy with the Democrats' performance. Now, there's a lot of general, I guess, more professional assessment where people are saying things like, Joe Biden had an interesting point and Warren did dodge that question. Let's be real. No standout performers. Actually, I'll say this. Yang did a pretty good job, but I don't think he did a good enough job to be a contender in 2020. Let's be real. There's so many reasons Trump is going to win, and I've got two stories from the past day or so showing this. We don't need to look at the weak Democratic field to know this, and it's a bummer. I do really like Tulsi Gabbard. I gotta admit, I'd give her a 6 out of 10 in terms of performance. Like, she hit some good points when she last night during the debate she called out CNN and the New York Times for their smear job on her and other veterans who want to end these wars, and that was fantastic. Standout moment. But I do think some of her responses were a bit too generic, not personable or charismatic enough. Andrew Yang did a really, really good job, in my opinion. He did the best job. He had really great answers, and everybody else was just, let's be real, it was all so generic. And this is one of the things I brought up before about, Tulsi's performance. I think one of the things you see Bernie do really well is he said, "I wrote the damn bill." And it's like, listen, man, that's very populist. That's very, Trump-esque. Speaking off the cuff like a regular person, like, "Don't tell me I wrote the damn bill." And then people were like, yeah, like, we like that, right? So there's a lot of people who give you this very presidential, very canned, listen, we must discuss, no, none of that. We're beyond that at this point. We're in the age of, YouTube personalities and people who treat you like you're a friend sitting at a bar. And that's what we need. So take that advice, Democrats, moving forward. You really got to step it up if you want to be strong enough to go up against Trump. I don't think anybody will have that X factor. Let's be real. Check out this story from the Daily Beast. All of these Democratic debates, especially this one, just leave me thinking Trump is going to win in 2020. None of them are top drawer presidential candidates. I don't say that with pleasure, quite the opposite. I say it with regret, but they aren't. You know what, man? I used to work in nonprofit fundraising, and as many of you may have noticed, I can talk a lot. So when I watch these debates and I see these answers, I'm like, dude, do you people not understand the basics of communication? Like how you actually try to explain an idea politely and succinctly. What was Elizabeth Warren thinking when they said, yes or no, will you raise taxes? And she goes, well, let's be clear here. I've always looked at the problem. I was like, no, stop talking. Stop, enough. We don't like that. Tell us the truth. And then Bernie comes out and says very specifically, listen, premiums will be gone, okay? These charges will disappear. Your taxes will go up, but your costs will go down. Thank you, Bernie. Your taxes will go up. Now, this is important because a lot of people don't have very high healthcare costs, or their healthcare is provided by their employer, in which case the company is fronting the healthcare, which means your costs will go up. Elizabeth Warren is playing this silly game, and Bernie isn't giving you the complete picture. But let's be real. Let's move on from this debate talk and stuff, because I want to talk about this. First of all, I did highlight this yesterday. I actually went into Moody's analytics and showed that Trump might actually get nearly 400 electoral votes. This is Moody's analytics. According to Newsweek, historically accurate election forecaster predicts Trump will win by even greater margin in 2020. He won by nearly, 70 electoral votes or more? They're saying he's going to win by more. Moody said with average turnout, he'll do a little better. With low turnout, he's going to do remarkably well, sweeping with 380 electoral votes. Democrats need a historical turnout in order to just barely get above 270. Now, here's what's really crazy. We're hearing from the New York Times that we are expecting historical voter turnout, but it is also going to include Trump's base. The largest group of people who support Trump, which I believe is white, working class, non-college educated. So tradespeople and rural Americans are expected to come out in big numbers too. Now, Moody's says, regardless, historical turnout means he wins. But historical turnout means Democrats win. But a historical average, Trump has that victory. And a low turnout, he has that victory. Let's read a little bit from this story. And guess what? You've got someone saying straight up the Democrats are poor performers. They don't stand out. They're not top drawer candidates. Trump's going to win. For that reason alone. I agree. You know what, man? When I point out, like I did the fundraising stuff, it's because I'm watching these debates thinking to myself, like, you were all so bad at this, okay? All of you. No one gets any credit. They're all terrible at being at speaking. Now, I go back to that old George Bush interview, the senior, where he said, do we want an order or do we want a president? I can respect that. Well, let's be real, man. If you can't connect with voters, you can't win. And when you all look stodgy with canned responses, ain't nobody want to vote for that. Bernie Sanders, good job. You see why he was so popular? It's not about what their plan is. It's about they have a plan and they're saying it to you in a way that feels honest. It feels. I'm not saying they're correct. I'm saying it seems like they're really trying. I don't think Bernie's trying to mislead anybody. I think he's explaining it the way he sees it, and he's trying to be straightforward for the most part. I think Bernie's gone very heavy mainstream, so I'm like soured on him. But I really, really do respect that he was like, listen, your taxes will go up. Let's be real. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for just saying it. I really do respect it. If you came to me and said, listen, man, we got to raise taxes for these reasons, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to begrudgingly be like, okay, well, I appreciate you just being straight with me. And that's what Trump does. Or whether you believe he does or not. A lot of people, the left will say he's a liar every single time. But seriously, you watch Trump speak and you feel like he's not holding anything back. The Intercept wrote a story saying Trump is simultaneously the most deceptive as well as honest president we've ever had. He was doing an interview about a weapons deal with Saudi Arabia, and he says, look, they pay really well. We're going to do a great weapons deal for our weapons manufacturer. It's going to be great for the economy. And the anti-war left, their collective jaw just dropped like, he just said it. And they were shocked by that. That's the kind of attitude where people are like, okay, I disagree, but now I get it. Thank you for being honest. That's why Bernie and Trump are so popular. That's why they're populists. Everybody else, okay? Now, Tulsi did a pretty good job. Not perfect, I think. Some of her points were great. Yang did a fantastic job, but everybody's very, very candid. I digress. Let's read the story. Newsweek says, though President Donald Trump currently trails several leading Democratic candidates in early national polls, a research firm with a historically accurate model has him winning the 2020 election by a wide margin. The Moody's model has predicted presidential elections with success since 1980 until its first miss in 2016. Isn't that crazy? Like so many others, they predicted a Hillary Clinton win. In our post-mortem for the 2016 presidential election model, we determined that unexpected turnout patterns were one of the factors that contributed to the model's first incorrect election prediction, wrote Mark Zandi, Dan White, and Bernard Yerbos of Moody's Analytics. Yes, Trump awoke a sleeping majority. I shouldn't say sleeping majority. Okay, that's the silent majority is what they say. But to be less hyperbolic, Trump found people in this country who had never voted before, areas that were gray. They weren't blue or red, and he turned them red. He activated them. I remember talking to somebody in California, and they were like, there's an area in southeastern California that typically doesn't care to vote. And all of a sudden, everyone's wearing Trump hats. And that's what he did. And that's what changed the Republican Party and angered a lot of establishment Republicans. This new wave of former independent and moderate individuals who just came out for Trump, new Republicans. Some people said Trump reinvigorated and revived the Republican Party because they were shaky. They were where the Democrats are today. The Democrats need some kind of resurgence. They say the model did not account for the individual attributes of the candidates other than whether they belong to the incumbent political party. In other words, it assumed Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were generic candidates, which they were not. The research firm concluded, Hillary was disliked even by Democrats, and Trump was liked by non-party affiliated voters. Moody's uses three models to come up with its forecast. In each case, Trump gets at least 289 electoral college votes. The pocketbook measure focuses on three economic variables: the change in gas prices, the change in house prices, and changes in personal income. This is where Trump shines brightest, grabbing a whopping 351 electoral votes. Oh man, if that happens, there's going to be egg on the face of the Democrats. If voters were to vote primarily on the basis of their pocketbooks, the president would steamroll the competition. But wait, warning to Democrats. This is from yesterday afternoon. The economy points to a Trump win. End of story. Right? Are we done? Well, let's read a little bit more about the Moody's analysis, because I did show this the other day, but let's see what they say. The stock market model relies on fewer economic variables than his pocketbook model and is the least favorable model for Trump, but it still currently predicts a victory for the president. Meanwhile, the unemployment model predicts a more comfortable win for the president than the stock market model. Moody's analytics may have missed on the previous election, but an economic analysis released in 2016 by the research firm forecasting Trump's presidency has largely come true. Amazing. Broadly, Mr. Trump's economic proposals will result in a more isolated U.S. economy. Cross-border trade and immigration will be significantly diminished, and with less trade and immigration, foreign direct investment will also be reduced. That's what they wrote in the report. The report also determined that Trump's plans would hit the middle class the hardest, while high-income earners would benefit the most from his tax breaks, including with a simplified overview. Even allowing for some variability in the accuracy of the economic modeling and underlying assumptions that drive the Trump analysis, four basic conclusions regarding the impact of Mr. Trump's economic proposals can be reached. They will result in a less global U.S. economy. They will lead to larger government deficits and more debt. They will largely benefit very high-income households, and they will result in a weaker U.S. economy with fewer jobs and higher unemployment. Well, that was wrong, though. What do you mean, Newsweek? That analysis was wrong. The authors of the report, however, warned that quantifying the real estate mogul's economic policies was complicated by their lack of specificity. They say the chief economist for Moody's Analytics also acknowledged that sometimes numbers can't control the outcome. It could be that this election may be so out of bounds with history that the models just aren't going to work. It could turn out things run on a dynamic you just can't model. Well, let's go back to the statement. First of all, the middle class did get a tax break. I believe they received around $2,000. We do have a less global U.S. economy to an extent, but it's hard to really quantify. You know, Trump's announced that China's going to be doing this big agricultural deal, $50 billion. So there have been some, pullbacks, but will it be forever? I don't know. And how you quantify that, man, you'd have to be able to, you'd have to track all of this stuff to give a definitive answer. And I can't necessarily give you that answer. They say it will largely benefit high-income households. I believe, yes, a lot of people on the higher end got a big tax break, but largely benefit is not a bad thing. So let me ask this. I mean, just because the wealthy are doing well doesn't mean the poor are doing worse. The middle class got a tax break too. Congratulations. Maybe the higher income earners got more cash out of it. Sure. Is that a bad thing? I mean, if you're jealous and you think the rich should be paying more in taxes, I don't see that as an actual problem. Let me put it this way. I don't care how much money Jeff Bezos has. I literally don't. It means nothing to me. I'm not going to sit here and complain he has too much and it should be taken away. That doesn't make any sense. If you want to talk about taxing the wealthy to pay for programs for everybody else, that's different. It's not about Bezos. I'm listening. But the idea that simply because high-income earners are doing well, everyone is doing worse makes no sense. Everybody is got a tax break from this. So you can be upset and think Trump is helping his rich buddies. Fine. But I guess you can argue that the deficit has gone up, and that is a bad thing. Well, for complicated reasons, like first and foremost, inflationary reasons. But most people don't even understand how the national debt works and how it impacts us, and most people don't seem to care. And they say it'll result in a weaker U.S. economy. We just had another record stock market and record low unemployment. So sorry, that's not the case. When we turn over here to Politico, the other day we can see economy points to a Trump win, man. So look, you know what, man? The Democrats have spent so much time spinning in circles, screeching about the orange man. They've done nothing to propose anything. But I'll tell you why they do it. And you've heard me say it before. Trump's winning. Well, let's be real, man. The reason they do Ukraine Gate, the reason they do Russia Gate is because Trump is winning. And they go up on that debate stage and they all say the same thing, save Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. And I was like, I want to pretend like I stood up in my bedroom, started clapping. No, let's be real. I was sitting in my bed playing some silly Tetris game on my phone, going like, yeah, you go Tulsi, that's right. And eating ice cream or something. But Tulsi said, we have this partisan impeachment. She supports the inquiry. I think that's respectable. I disagree. But at least she's saying we can't be divisive. And I really do feel, I got to be honest, the only reason she supported impeachment is because the Democrats want it. The Democrats are polled. They overwhelmingly want impeachment. And that's why I think she flipped on it. Could you imagine if Tulsi wanted to stand out and she said, I do not support this impeachment inquiry? They would have went to her first and said, out of everyone on the stage, you're the only one and a member of the House not supporting this. And she could have said straight up, listen, for years we have been told over and over again, there's scandal after scandal after scandal. Look, Russiagate didn't turn out. It turned out to be a big nothing burger. You want to argue if Trump obstructed? Well, you've got a problem. A lot of people don't care. They didn't care about Russiagate. And then when Russiagate turned out to be nothing, now you're going after the minutia of the investigation. We can argue that Trump shouldn't have done it. Fine. But now the Ukraine-gate thing. This is a complicated, divisive, partisan issue that is not going to win us 2020. Let's be real. I know you don't like Trump. I know you want that emotional vindication. This is not how you get it. You get it by saying, listen, here are the problems not being solved. Here are the issues that he has not fulfilled his promise towards. And here's what I'm going to do to fix these problems and help make things better for you. But what do we get? We all just support impeachment. Well, at least Andrew Yang said, when we're talking about Trump, we're losing. And that I was like, bravo, Andrew Yang. Thank you. We don't need to just talk about the man and his character and who he is and what he says and that he's orange. I don't care. Look, man, this is WWE style politics, and the Democrats don't know how to fight back. They don't know how to play the game. So Trump is in the Hall. I could be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure, though, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. He knows how to go up in that ring and say, I am the greatest, the best, with the best proposals, and you will be no more. And then everyone claps and cheers, and then they wrestle, and, Trump hits somebody with a chair or whatever. People get rallied by that. Let me tell you a story. During Occupy Wall Street, I'll give you a perfect example of the Democrats and Trump. During Occupy Wall Street, there was this emergency that happened. I believe it was October 14th, 2011. I could be getting the date wrong. Where the city said they were going to shut down the protest, the occupation, because of sanitation issues. So in the wee hours of the morning, like 2,000 people showed up and cleaned everything. And the city backed down. With all these people standing around, a couple activists stood up on this elevated planter because the Zuccotti goes downhill slightly. And so there's this planter, and one guy stands up and he says something like, mic check, and then everybody yells, and he goes, should we march? We have a lot of people. And then everyone just mutters and then turns around and ignores him. And then this woman yells mic check again, and then she screams, we won, or something like that. And everyone goes, rah, and starts screaming back. And then she goes, now we march. And then everyone goes, wah, and screams, and they all start marching and going wild. That's called charisma. And I watched it that day and I laughed because I knew exactly what was going on. The Democrats are up on stage going, listen, I think, Trump is really bad, okay? And we need to be real about this. And then Trump is sitting there with a grin on his face, all slick, going, look at these losers. Hey, guys, look at these losers. They got no idea what they're talking about. I got record low unemployment. I got a booming stock market. Things are better than ever, and I've brought your jobs back. Now, who stands with me? And then everyone goes, what? And wiggles their arms in the air. You can, it reminds me also of I don't know if you watched the King of the Hill episode where Bobby is trying to do comedy, but nobody laughs. So Peggy says, you've got to tell people when to laugh. Seriously. That's why they have laugh tracks. And then Bobby tells a joke and then she laughs and then spins some things. So it goes, wah, 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 and then everyone laughs because they're like, now I know when I'm supposed to laugh. If you don't have that, cue point, this is why we rally, this is the energy I bring you, you got nothing, man. And I'll say it for everyone across the board, Yang, Tulsi included. The Democrats don't have that rallying cry. They don't have the strength and the charisma behind them that Trump has. Trump goes up on stage and he says big, bold things, and then people start clapping and cheering, and he looks and he winks at you and he points at you, and then people go, oh, and they faint. Trump does it. You might not like him. The left doesn't like him. It doesn't matter. It matters that he has that star power. That's why he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's a celebrity. He knows how to play the game. At the end of the day, you can throw everything aside and take this to the bank with you. The economy is better than it's been in decades, and Trump has star power. That's outside of Moody's analytics and the opinions of the pundits. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.